So, goddesses, how many of you have experienced a perfect checklist life? Got a good degree, then got married, then had kids, then travel places. You got wonderful parents, you got wonderful in laws, you got a supportive spouse, and still something was not complete. You were feeling hollow. Today we have a goddess who have been there and she asked herself this question: what is wrong when everything appears so right? So today's goddess shall share her story when everything appears right but it's not. So please put your hands together for goddess Smriti Joshi. Hi Smriti, welcome to our show Planet Aphrodite with Meenal. How are you?
I'm doing good today. Thanks for having me over, Meenal.
That's lovely, Smriti. So, Smriti, what you are doing is so commendable in today's time, especially during today's time, it makes all the more, it's so much needed. So, I would like to know the younger Smriti story. How was your life earlier prior to the challenge? How were things in your life and everything? Yeah.
So, see, I'm born into the family of academicians. My parents have been teachers, and we've I've grown up in despite they being teachers, my mom and my dad had very different mindsets. Um, they were both very protective, and they also wanted me to explore a lot. And there were a lot of learning opportunities provided. At the same time, there was also the usual instructions around, also do this, learn this, more in terms of the home course and tasks. Continue to, kind of learn this. It came a little later, maybe as compared to if I see my cousins. Maybe for them it started earlier. For me,
Mm-hmm.
it started around my college time. But I suddenly saw that um, pressure increase a bit in terms of picking up on whole home course, despite the fact that I was into academics and I enjoyed my field, which is psychology, reading it, volunteering for it. So I would always try to keep up, to continue with my passion, studying in this, but extra time or extra energy going into other stuff, I don't regret it. In fact, I think today those things which I've learned at that point in time, multitasking, juggling with many things, including various kind of demands and from the family, etc. It's helping me now deal with the stresses better. And then once I did my MPhil, a reminder popped up that you've studied enough, and now you think about marriage. It's important that you think of companionship and moving ahead in your with your life's other goals as well. It wasn't on my mind. I had wanted to take up my PhD directly after my MPhil. But I was reminded of how biological age, doesn't wait for anyone, in subtle ways, and you need to kind of move on with it. And I also saw my parents, my brother had got married, and I had this in mind that, okay, they want to do it at a time when they're also very active,
Right,
and they can get the formalities done in a happier, in a way where they're healthier and they can take
right.
care of things. And I had done my MPhil. I was license eligible for clinical psychology, so I was kind of ready to enter the field. So I thought, okay, fine, we could look at the PhD later. It's all right. My It was an arranged marriage. I got into a very progressive family again. Like, they were educated background. My father-in-law is a retired doctor from the army, and my mother-in-law is also a master's from her times, and she had done a lot of activities with women from the army wives, etc.
Right.
And they were very supportive with my work, etc., everything. And again, reminders around the biological clock ticking were coming in. And I have also never had decided that I would be a very, very career oriented person, and I wanted a good balance of both. And so we had our first child within like around 2 years of our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And post that, my husband got an opportunity to go to the US.
Okay.
And I was into a private practice at that point in time. and it could be wrapped up as compared to a decision on whether we should be staying where we are or we should not take this opportunity. There was a lot of you think it's a land of opportunities, dreams. Your children will grow up in a different country, they will have a different experience, and my husband was getting a good opportunity, and so we decided to move on with it.
Right.
And during none of these times when I dropped my PhD, or maybe when I moved to US and wrapped up my practice in Delhi, it was not a regretful decision at any point in time. It was like just going with the flow
So,
of your
yeah.
life and the demands that life is bringing upon you,
Right.
and looking at which demands could have consequences I could bear with. And as till now, till this point in time, it was no consequences seemed too large to not being able to handle. And I had the support. I could talk to my family members, I could talk to people, and I was always into books, and I was more into I like cooking. So everything was very picture perfect in that sense, that
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's a new phase, we'll enjoy this new phase. And I think the most challenging phase, then if you say, started for me with my uh, movement to the US.
Uh-huh.
And it was an enjoyable phase. We saw many places I would have never imagined. To share a little secret, I hadn't even got my passport made till I got married, because I wanted to stay in India. I
Right.
wanted to work in India. I wanted to be around parents and family members. I'm a very social person. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to have my network and my safe
Right.
space.
Right.
That gives me a lot of strength and security. And I think that movement suddenly took away all that from me. The so they were there all virtually, but that physical space which you could
Right.
share with them, reach out to them, talk to them, discuss concerns with them, or just share happy moments with them, invite them over, have them over, cook for people, which I like doing. So suddenly
Yeah.
all of that kind of stopped,
Right.
and also stopped my professional journey, because I was on an H4 visa.
Right.
And little did I know that we were not allowed to work on an H4 visa. uh, my research was poor. Like I said, I had no passport. So I had never kind of ventured and explored that, what happens on an H4 visa, what are the kind of opportunities. And I always thought visa status could just be changed, and psychology was such a popular subject in the US.
Right.
It came from there almost like
Right.
uh, uh, to India. And I was like, okay, I have my license from my country, it's the highest course that one could do. And what struggles would I have? I mean, I would just go, maybe wait for a year or so kind of to
Right.
settle down, or maybe study something there and get into it. But none of that happened. And that's where the challenges emerged for me.
So, thanks for sharing. And I'm just, feeling your life happening in front of my eyes. And I'm sure goddesses would like to know, you being a psychology student, what were the challenges you faced? And it's so human to face challenges, that's the another point. If you're a doctor, if you're a cardiac surgeon, you can still have a heart attack, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because you're human, finally you remain human. So I would like to know, what are the challenges that you faced and what happened during that?
So continuing from where I left the story, like I said that there are lots of things which I felt completed me, like my social network, my professional network, the safety of reaching out to my people physically, not just I mean on telephone calls or Skype or
Right.
something. So all of that was taken away. I still had my husband. My husband was earning pretty well. His job was very well paying. I had my little 1.5-year-old daughter. So I had all the time in the world to quality time in the world to give, her and see her grow and play. And that's what we all want somewhere, isn't it? To be able to see your child grow slowly, be a part of her first things, first learnings, and,
Right.
spend time with them. But slowly I realized that none of it was giving me happiness.
Right.
I used to have this empty, shallow feeling within me, and the day would get over very robotically, with my husband leaving in the morning, coming back in the evening. I'm doing all the home chores. I tried to kind of pick up recipes there, which were very American, very English. Get go do groceries, get that kind of stuff, get involved with library. I helped my daughter get into reading. I would get books for myself, get books for her. And she started reading very early. By 2.5, 3, she was actually reading, because that's all that we could do there, or play
Right.
word games and stuff like that.
Right.
So I could see the positives happening, that she's beginning to read, she's getting a lot of me time with me. But still, at the end of the day, when I would lie down on the bed to sleep, I was very restless. It was like something is missing. I couldn't pinpoint at that point in time what was
Right.
missing. And like you're saying, being a psychologist, people expect, so in addition to any other role, having that crown on your head, that you know about behavior science, you know about
Right.
how thoughts act, and you should be able to take care of things. And I was kind of carrying that cape with me, that I have this extra edge because I'm a psychologist, and
Right.
I should be able to understand my thoughts, my feelings. Why am I feeling empty? Why am I feeling shallow? Everything, like you said, people have everything in their lives and they can still feel emptiness. And not being able to answer why was a huge question. um, Being there, I then created these social media accounts, Facebook, to start with. There was Orkut also back then.
Yes.
This was in 2010, 9 or 10, I think. So Orkut, Facebook, and you're
Right.
seeing people share, my peers, my companions sharing their achievements, so growing professionally, from a psychologist to, say, an assistant professor, taking up their PhDs. And I was constantly comparing and noticing the time passing. So, and we also moved locations in the US. From New Jersey, we were initially there, and then we moved to Dallas. And I was like, okay, my elder one's growing up, maybe what will fill in is another baby.
Right.
So we decided to have another baby, and we had another baby, and it was beautiful, the entire journey. It's very different how they take care of you here in terms of the hospitals, and how they take care of you, how they pamper you there. So that part was there. My parents decided to come in and visit during my phase when I had to deliver my second baby. And that was even more beautiful, because I got some part of my struggle
Right.
network back. My
Right.
parents were there with me. And even when they were there with me, again, there was this restlessness, and people labeled it as hormonal. You've just
Mm-hmm.
delivered a baby,
Right.
it's very hormonal, it could be the blues. And I was kind of challenging that, because the blues had started much earlier.
Right.
I had lost my sleep much earlier, and I was then questioning whether it was a good idea to bring this baby at this time when I was already struggling with so much, and I
Right.
wasn't able to figure out what it was, and my irritability was increasing. I think I had a lot of arguments with my parents while they were there about how to spend my day, or very well-meaning advice that they would give, or my husband would give, would lead to some argument that don't tell me. And I would get to hear, oh, you're a psychologist, so you know it all, and we can't tell you anything. And I was like, no, it's not that. It's not about me knowing
Right.
what is right for me. I don't even know what is going wrong with me.
Right.
And the comparisons that had happened from social media profiles, seeing my friends growing, my peers growing, that still stayed, even when my parents were there, even when my baby was there. And I was advised that stay happy with your life. You know, it's a different life here. Maybe when your second baby grows up a little, you could take up a PhD here. And again, those hopes started rising. That kind of cushioned what I was feeling, that okay, now I could do my PhD here, which is a very looked after, sought after thing.
Right.
And when I started exploring it, it was very expensive, and it was time demanding. I also realized that I was worried about my parents' health, and I couldn't stay in US forever, and I
Right.
wanted to move back. And that's the time, I think, my challenges got to the best of me. I was depressed, I was irritable, I was constantly fatigued, tired. The cooking, the whole housework, being with two girls, seeing them grow up was no longer giving me as much fun as I had imagined. And that is when I decided to speak to one of my professors. And I spoke to him and I shared with him all of this, of my experiences. And he told me, Smriti, you've been doing it all right till now. You know, the all right, like you have a list of things for yourself and your life, and you've kind of done your MPhil, and you've done it all in, first division, and then you got married, and you got married to a very nice person, and you've got a good house, you've got good supportive in-laws, you're not being tortured by them, your
Right.
parents have been supportive,
Right.
and you have two beautiful girls. He says, but I know, knowing me from my uh, college days, he says you were always very aspirational, and he says I feel that is that's aspirational part of you which is not being fulfilled, and that's keeping you restless. And you build those dreams before coming to US. You build those dreams
Yeah.
that it will be a land of opportunities for me. I couldn't even make through volunteering opportunities with my H4 visa. It was so
Yeah.
bad, and it made me, I then realized that I was questioning my self-worth totally. And it was my self-worth which was kind of, and there was this inner critic which had kind of come inside me like a jack in the box pops up, right, saying that you're not worth anything, your academics is not worth anything, your life is a waste, all you're going to do is this, work at home. And I was also feeling guilty at the same time, because I had never looked at this work as something which was not worth it. It was something which I was enjoying earlier. I enjoyed cooking, I enjoyed decorating my house, I enjoyed cooking for people. When did it become so demanding on me that I was questioning my worth because of it, that this is all what I will do, as if it was a menial job? And it wasn't a
Right.
menial job, right?
Right.
It's something which was once giving me pleasure. And I think that conversation with my professor, because he was unbiased, he knew me, he was not trying to parent me,
Right.
and he gave me a very outright, frank opinion about my life and where I was heading. And that actually got me thinking. And it's then when I discovered that he said, you just try and think of what is it that you can control about your situation which you think is not being controlled as of now. What part of it? It could be academic. You could restart academics by the smallest possible thing you could do, or you could reach out to your older patients. You are connecting with your parents on Skype every time, or your in-laws on Skype every time. Why don't you try and connect with them and see how they respond? That was the light at the end of the tunnel for me.
Okay. So after this life-changing conversation with your professor, even your face has lit up, when you speak about it, like, your
Yeah.
body language has changed and everything. So which suggestion by him you took it up and you just ran with it? What was it that happened afterwards?
It was academics.
Okay.
So I took up a course in telemental health
Mm-hmm.
in US, and we didn't have the kind of money it was asking us to pay. So I got up all my guts up, and I wrote a letter to the director, Dr. Marlene Mehew, saying that if there's a scholarship opportunity, I
Mm-hmm.
would be willing to do anything to get that scholarship, whether it means working for you. And
Mm.
luckily, they had a work study arrangement.
Okay.
And the work involved handling social media for them.
Okay.
And which is something which I had not done, and I was actually trying to keep away from social media given that a lot of my pain points were coming from there. And I was like, okay, if that's something that I need to do to get this
Scholarship.
course, I'll do
Yeah.
it. And I said I would need some guidance initially, and then I'll try and manage. So I had to do all their promotional work. I had to go through their courses to kind of review it and see if it was grammatically correct. So all the housekeeping job for the article,
Right.
sweeping things and all that stuff, editing and stuff. And also then preparing posts on multiple platforms, and reaching out to people and sharing them about the course, and kind of writing articles on telemental health for them and sharing all that. And that was a very enriching experience, because it was something which I had considered to be a pain point for me. I wanted to stay away from my social media handles, and there I was bombarding social media handles right, left and center with telebehavioral health institutes articles and promotional material. And I was also getting my courses from them for free.
Right.
So in a way I was earning it.
Yeah.
And I think that made it appear as if challenges are not always hardships.
Right.
but they could also be opportunities.
Right.
So you could,
That's a beautiful way of putting it. How you look at it, how you look at a particular
yeah.
situation, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think it actually that changed a lot for me. So one was talking to my professor, getting his opinion. Second was thinking over it and implementing it in some way, the smallest step. So it stuck to
Right.
me. He said, "Don't make it big like a PhD in the US.
Right.
Think of the smallest thing that you can do to begin with. So it
Right.
gives you some sense of accomplishment or confidence that it's all there in place. Nothing has been
Right.
forgotten. Nothing has gone anywhere. The
Right.
feeling of loss that had come from not being able to do things that I wanted to do, I think that was very disabling. That I had lost everything. I was feeling very
Yeah.
empty because of that. That
Right.
abhi sab chala gaya. I've lost everything. So
Right.
that all of doing all of this brought that confidence back. That whatever I had learned in the past and whatever I'm learning right now can be combined. I can still get things back. And it was not about being a financially independent person. So in that sense, my husband had never kind of said that, okay, this is what you will get as a pocket money. I had the access to everything, all his cards, his wallet, everything. I had never that, but it was, I think, more to do with my own value system, where I saw myself as a very independent person, and independent not just financially or socially, but also independent thinker to be able to
Right.
decide for myself. And I think I realized that I had not been able to decide for myself for quite a bit of decisions when I just went ahead with the flow. So
Right.
I was just agreeing to certain decisions, and in that I felt that I was losing myself. So being able to take that decision that, okay, I have these responsibilities, and it's harder outside because you don't have the house help.
Right.
All those things are expensive. So I know I have to take care of these things, but I also have to do the work study obligation work and the study part.
The deep part.
So it's going to be hard, but
Right.
it got a sense of life back to me. So it
Yeah.
was my oxygen mask at that point in time,
That's
which helped me
so
survive.
beautiful, Smriti. I mean, it's really powerful. Sometimes it may appear overwhelming, but that's what brings the best out of you. It just brings out the best out of you, and that's
Yeah.
powerful. And Smriti, here I would like to ask something for our goddesses who may be feeling similar kind of situation in their lives, in particular area of their lives, and which they feel they just went with a flow, or they took some decisions which is making them feel losing their self-worth and the shallowness, that hollowness, that loneliness. So what is one gem that you would like to offer to our goddesses?
Self compassion.
Self-compassion. That's
I
powerful.
think I had totally lost it. Um I had developed this weird, very critical voice within me, which was pinning me down. That what fun it is to just give up everything. And it made me and also question, like, how good are you? What is your self worth? Is this what you would do? You're not worth even getting a voluntary position here. What good was your academics that you invested in India? It's not worth anything. The MPhil is a sham. So I was so negative. I was questioning everything, right from my husband's gesture to offer something to me, that don't try to be too nice to me because I don't need your niceness. When he was trying to help me, that okay, at least I can do at least the housework I can do. There's no need to be so nice to me. So I was misinterpreting everything at that point in time.
Right.
Like I said, the advices my parents were giving, I was challenging them, and it was all because I was just so believing of my own critical thoughts. I was
Right.
not willing to look beyond my own critical thoughts about myself, and anybody who would say anything, I was just challenging it by saying that you are all wrong, and it's these thoughts which are right. I'm really not worth anything, so let's just leave it. Let's not talk about it. So that I had closed myself into a shell. I was not talking to people about what was happening. And the gem would be, or that moment, or those moments which helped me were when I kind of realized and put myself at a distance and thought that what would have I said to a client of mine if they were going through this? Would
Right.
I agree with them and say, yeah, your self-worth is bad? Because somewhere I was agreeing with myself that yes, my self-worth was worth questioning. I was feeling like an imposter at that point in time, very fake, like a fraud. If somebody would ask me something and I would give them an advice, and I was like, look at you, your own life is in such a dark phase, and there you're going and giving advice to another person. So why are you even doing it? You know? So pulling yourself up back from that low pit or that empty phase that I was in, if it wasn't self-compassion of how I would think or talk to another person going through a similar phase, I think no amount of advice, even from a professor, would have helped. And that's what
Right.
he's the one who also kind of he asked me this question, that what would you say to someone who was going through this? Would you say the same thing? Would you agree with that person? Yeah, you are right, you are pathetic, your self-worth is just down the dumps because you deserve it. He says, do you believe in that? And I think that made me question everything, and that gave me the motivation to give it one more try. And I'm so glad I gave that one more try, because after that there's been no looking back. I've only
Wonderful.
taken up more challenges, maybe,
Right.
because I also learned, like I shared, that the hardships are something which may make you feel like it's really difficult, or you could look at it as opportunities that you're learning from, and it will help you at some point in your life for sure.
Sure. That's so powerful. Thank you, Smriti, for your gem. And I'm sure this interview is not enough for our goddesses to understand more about you. So where can they follow you on social media now that you do not hate social media
No,
anymore?
I don't. Yeah.
So where can they follow you?
So I have a Twitter handle. It's called Vysa Sai, and I
How do you
also
spell
write a
that?
lot. WYSA and PSY from psychologist. So
Okay.
Vysa Sai. Vysa is the company I work for. It is one of the best decisions in my life to come to this place. It was a very, very tiny startup when I got into it, but it gave me that space, the autonomy again to kind of challenge myself to do things which I had never done ever before in my life. And I think I have now developed a kick for doing things which I have never done before in my life, because each time I take them up, it helps me see a new part of myself. So that's also something our lovely goddesses could take away, that never hesitate from taking that step, because you never know what kind of doors it will open up for you.
Wonderful.
So Instagram Vaisasai, and it's Smriti Joshi on Twitter.
Okay, perfect.
And
So
my
goddess.
Facebook
Yeah.
page is again by my name,
Okay.
Smriti. Yeah.
Perfect. So goddesses, do follow her and just stay compassionate to yourself. Take all the smallest of opportunities that comes your way. You don't know which door it will open. It is key to which door you really don't know. So in today's session, first of all, mental health or depression or anything related to mental health can happen to anybody who has a mind. Anybody who is alive, it can happen to them. Like we
Very
said,
true.
like a cardiac surgeon can get a heart attack. So first of all, do not shy away from the situation and take help, listen to others. And the candidly, you have shared your story. Not many people will have shared it so openly. I really appreciate your we can relate to you, we can understand you, and it was not a very strong position. It sometimes we look around and we feel, oh, this person is doing so good, that person is doing so good, but we do not know their journey, which is the
Yes.
toughest part. So it's so inspiring to hear your dark space and everything you shared so candidly. Thank you so much, Smriti. It was wonderful having you on our show, and I'm sure our goddesses will love this and they will share it with the world. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thanks, Meenal, for having me. It was a pleasure sharing, and I hope people do have some takeaways. And I'm always there now. So if they come on the social media, have questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye bye. From today's session, it was a very powerful interaction, a powerful sharing by Smriti about about her life in all its candidness, with all its good, bad, and the ugly, and how she managed everything. Times we spend months and years being in a very stuck state, and with self compassion, we can take the next small baby step, but a very powerful one. And you don't know how one door leads to another one and how it leads to the door of freedom. And today she is helping thousands of people across the world in their mental health space. So today, whatever you are facing, maybe it can help others. Do like and comment on this video and subscribe to this channel. Do share it with women who needs to hear this story. You don't know whose life you are changing by your simple share. Increase your dose of self-love. It can cause miracles. Till then, take care. See you next week.